The way we define a system is a series of processes, policies, and technologies that aid in the business's goals. So the system is really the if-thens of your business. These processes are the if-thens. So you want to just think about in your business from the four pillars. There are four pillars of business.
I feel like for my own struggle, when I've had issues with boundaries, it's completely pointed at number two, which is the communication guidelines, right? And I feel like it's maybe the nature of the business that I'm in, and then that we're all kind of in as online entrepreneurs. The amount of accessibility people have. I've started to as you were talking about that, I'm thinking I have like 5 email accounts, and I have Slack, and I have Voxer, and I have my LinkedIn DMs, and I have, it's like you start thinking about all the ways people can access you. Of course, just calling you, texting you, Facebook messages, and they're all in play. And so having those guidelines and having very clear protocols really for clients and customers and family and friends and like all these different groups. That one really got my mind working about how I could really improve that in my own life, because I feel like I have clear priorities, and I tell myself I have boundaries, but the place where the boundaries get broken is almost always communication. So please continue. That was awesome.
I'll give one example just to click on it. Like yesterday, Front Row Dad, he said, I was on my computer, I was getting some stuff done. I saw an iMessage pop up, and it's not a notification, but I saw there was one there. So I clicked. He said, hey, do you have a minute for a phone call? And at the moment I said, I'm in the middle of doing this, actually the podcast pitch. I'm having a conversation with ChatGPT right now. And I'm like, I could take this call, but I'm like, it's going to be a distraction. So I said, in order for me to be like fully present, here's my link for a catch-up call. If you could find a time here or send me your link, that way I could just be fully present with you. And he's like, perfect. And I said, I know it's really like kind of I put quote unquote formal, but that way I'm only focused on you at that moment in time. He's like, I get it. So like in the moment, I had a choice. And that's a lot of what these communication guidelines create. And that's what these boundaries create, because now he knows he's never going to phone call me, this one person. But every time I install and reinforce the boundaries and these guidelines, it's coaching every single person in my life that it's like, you don't just call me and then all of a sudden the calls stop. It's kind of remarkable. But awesome. But anyway, number 3 on the timer at 6, number 3 is systems. And I'll actually, just in case you're taking notes, I'll tell you what the next few are. So number 3 is systems. Number 4 is playbooks. Number 5 is team. And number 6 is tech. So these 4 kind of support the other 2, the boundaries and communication guidelines. So systems, the way we define a system is a series of processes, policies, and technologies that aid in the business's goals. So the system is really the if-thens of your business. These processes are the if-thens. So you want to just think about in your business from the 4 pillars. There are 4 pillars of business. The first is attract, meaning like lead gen, and you're attracting 2 types of people to the business. There's clients and there's talent. So your if-thens for your attract, and then there's convert. Convert is like the sales or the interviewing process, whether it's a client or talent. What are your if-thens for each of those? Then there's onboarding clients, onboarding talent, if-thens for those. And then there's retention of your clients, like lifetime value, and retention of your staff, which is what is your meeting structure, your cadence for how your communication is with your team. So you build out all of the if-then scenarios for each of those inside of your business. And then you ask the question, which is, what needs to get automated? What needs to get delegated? How can I create a user experience within each of those different points inside the business model? So that's where the systems come into play. The playbooks is really the policy. The playbooks are really the SOPs, the standard operating procedures. The playbooks are really like the videos, the how-tos. These are the resources that support that system. So once you create if-thens, what are the SOPs? What are the resources that are going to be create predictable outcomes inside of inside those systems, inside those if-thens that have been created? And I go through these a little quick, because I could unpack these a lot.
I do want to just kind of call out there. I feel like a problem that I see a lot, and again, I'm sure I've been guilty of it, is you have systems and playbooks as 2 separate things. I think a lot of times people just think of them as one thing, meaning, if I need a system in my business, it just means I need to make an SOP, standard operating procedure, and then I have a system. But that doesn't work because you have to know when that applies and when it doesn't. And there's got to be some logic behind, like you said, kind of if this happens, then use this SOP. But if this happens, use this one. And yeah, I'm again, guilty as charged as far as and I'm working actively on doing this because I'm taking the next leap in my business. And one of the areas I know is fulfillment, right? Like my fulfillment on my promises and the things that I do is like all me and all manual. And so for me, that's very much a mix of the next two things. I was just team and tech. So I'll just kind of cue you up with that.
Yeah, that's perfect. And you're absolutely right. The system is the if thens, like a flow chart. Flow chart is systems. The playbooks are once I have the flow chart, that's like I have the play, like you have the play that circles and the squares and stuff, right?
That's a good distinction. Yeah, in
right?
Football, you got to first call the play for the situation, the appropriate play for the situation, but then you have to execute the play, which is the SOP.
Correct. And that's where you have the playbook. So it's like that's we're calling the plays. But then the question is, who's running the plays, right? And that's where the team and the tech kind of come into play, right? Yeah. So the team is who are the who's, right? So who are the who's that are going to be executing the playbooks? And if you follow Dan Martell, like above me, Buy Back Your Time, he has the replacement ladder. He says admin, and then you could interchange marketing or client success or fulfillment, and then sales, and then leadership. But the admin, there's all in those 4 pillars of the business. There's so many places that admin support can fall into play. So I would suggest number 1 is who are the who's that I could install into my business to offset all of my administrative? That's inbox management, calendar management. And when I say inbox, that's not just email. That's your Facebook, that's your LinkedIn, your social platforms, Instagram. How can I have, who are my who's that could cover my inbox? Who are the who's that can handle my appointment setting? Who are the who's that can help me with video editing? Who are the who's that can help me with getting me on podcasts as an example, right? So who are all these who's that can help with this, even if it's voice work, if it's appointment setting, if it's social media management, content calendar creation, like all of these type of administrative things that can fall into a marketing department or can support with sales, sending recap emails, whatever it might be. So who are those who's? And then there's expert who's that we want to figure out. It's like there's lower tier who's like like the virtual assistants, but then there's like who are the expert who's? There's the follower who's that's like executors, and then there's expert who's that I want to install that already like they know how to do stuff. Who are those individuals? And frankly, for most businesses, we start with the lower tier ones to free me up so I can focus on building out these systems and SOPs. So that way, when I bring in an expert person, I could put them directly to work in executing on the systems and playbooks that I created. So order of operations is dependent, of course, but then the technology, the tech is the last one, which is what are the tools that are going to be used by the team? So what are the tools they're going to be using? Like what is the CRM? What is any automation technology we want them to use? Scheduling software like a Calendly? What are any of these type of technology enhancements, AI, chat GPT, those types of things that are going to support that team in executing those plays that are inside that system. So that way you can make sure that you're living inside of those boundaries and making your priorities stay the main things. And then anybody that steps out of bounds on those communication guidelines, you could enforce your team and tech to protect you like your offensive lineman as an example. So